First things first, line a baking sheet with tin foil, split your English muffin in half, and toast it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. While your English muffin is toasting, carefully dice up an onion. Here I took half of an onion and sliced it in half horizontally. Then I'm making vertical cuts into the onion. Then I'm slicing again horizontally to dice the onion up. The biggest tip I have when you're cutting up an onion this way is to not slice all the way through that root end. To get the onion into smaller pieces, I'm now using a seesaw or rocking back and forth motion to just chop up those diced pieces into even smaller bits. Once the onion is the size you want it, go ahead, throw it into a cup for later. Moving on to the asparagus, leave the rubber bands on and cut those tough ends right above that first rubber band, or about 1.5 inches into the asparagus stem. Then we're going to slice the asparagus into about 1/2 inch pieces. I like to leave the rubber bands on just because it helps keep the bundle together and it's a lot easier to slice that way. Once you've got the asparagus into your desired sizes, remove that rubber band super easily and place them into a bowl for later. Last but not least, we've got to chop up our mushrooms. To save time, I went ahead and bought the pre-sliced mushrooms, and then I'm just taking my knife and chopping up those slices into smaller bits. Once the mushrooms are the size you want, heat 1.5 teaspoons of vegetable or olive oil over medium-high heat in a pan. Add the onions and the mushrooms to the saucepan with the oil. And we want to cook these until they're lightly browned and beginning to soften. I like to let them sit for a little while before giving them a stir. Letting them sit allows for the bottoms to get a little bit browned and releases a bit of a sweeter flavor in the vegetables. Once they start getting browned on the bottom of the pan, that's when I like to start stirring them around. Keep them moving just so that way they don't burn. Once the onions and mushrooms are lightly browned, add in the asparagus, the 1.5 teaspoons of vinegar, I use distilled white vinegar, and the ground thyme. Carefully stir everything together. Try not to let any vegetables fly out of the pan like I did. Runaway mushroom got out of the pan there. Just going to throw her back in real quick. Once the asparagus softens, season with salt and pepper to your taste preferences. Give the vegetables a quick stir. And the final step is to assemble your pizza. Here I'm adding some sliced deli chicken onto my flatbread for a little extra protein. This is not required, but it could add a nice flavor to the flatbreads. Spoon the asparagus, mushroom, onion mixture onto each half of the English muffin. I find that about 1 wooden spoonful fits best onto the English muffins with minimum spillage. Top each half of the English muffin with about 2 tablespoons of reduced fat mozzarella cheese. Next, broil the pizzas for about 4 minutes, but carefully watch so the cheese doesn't burn. I only made 2 flatbreads, so this means I've got a ton of leftover veggies for later in the week. Store the vegetable mixture in an airtight container in the fridge and use it throughout the week. You can make additional pizzas with this vegetable mixture, or you can even use these veggies as a side for other dinners or lunches. Once the cheese is all melted, your pizzas are done. Enjoy!